P here, CEO and founder of the Online Authors Office. And here we are at the OAO desk talking to one of our authors, Phyllis, Hanson, Ansusinha, the author of Glowing Up. Hi, Phyllis. How are you?
Nice to see you.
Yeah, nice to. Thank you. So are you. So a lot of our audience is very curious to know about your upcoming book and your upcoming workbook as well. So if we can, let's just get right into the questions so you can enlighten us with all your knowledge. So the first question we have for you today is, what inspired you to write your book?
You know, I have loved reading, number one, since I was probably age 3, 4. I would go to the library and I would check out books every week with my older sisters or with my mom. And I love the smell of books. I love everything about books. And so I started making up stories, you know, when I ran out of books that I could read at that young age, you know, which was probably like the 3 little kittens who lost their mittens. It was my age, my book level at that time. But I would make up stories, and it, you know, early on it was just in my mind, and then it was drawing pictures. So it was a picture book story because I only knew how to spell a few words here and there. And I would tell those stories to my younger siblings. And then as my kids grew up, I would, you know, we'd run out of books to read at bedtime, so I would make up stories, and it was like they thought those were the best stories of all, you know, outside of Harry Potter, which was of course the best. But so I loved creating stories and just seeing where my mind would take me. And then I, you know, as everybody probably knows, I have a career in the wellness and fitness industry. And I started to, I was being asked to write articles for different magazines. And so I started writing that way. And from there, you know, I grew into, suddenly I turned 50 and I was like, I'm in my 50s and I must have a bucket list of things I have to accomplish. And one of them was possibly authoring my own book. And it came to the point where I was 59 and I was like, I still have a couple things to accomplish yet on my bucket list. And so I decided that I would write, and I didn't know what about to begin with. And I thought probably the best thing for me to start with is something that I know the most about. Mm-hmm. And that was my story and how I transformed from this really, really shy little girl to, you know, with no confidence, to managing very, very large gyms in the Midwest in the US and starting to become very well respected in the industry for what I could do, whether it was within the gym facility or whether it was for my clients. And so that's where it led me to writing Glowing Up, my very first book.
Well, I have to say, you're really rocking #sexy at 60, okay? So your glowing up is wonderful. I mean, you're just a testament to what we have in store with your books. So when you say glowing up, what does it mean to you, and how do you want to impart that kind of wisdom to your audience about the whole notion of glowing up?
Yes. So many of us, like I mentioned, you know, I was very shy and had no confidence. And as I continued to meet behind my desk at the gym, hundreds of members and clients as they were coming through the door, I realized that so many people were just like me, where they didn't have confidence in certain aspects of their life. And I thought, you know, as I began to develop my skills, I realized that I had a light to offer, you know, and I felt like people were drawn to that light. And so that's where I kind of came up with the name Glowing Up. I was growing up and I was glowing at the same time. And I just want to be able to help others feel that same vibrancy and frequency that I was able to find through my journey.
Wow. So you have the glowing up magic formula that's coming out in your book, and I can't wait for your audience to read more about that too. So tell us the time in your life where you really felt, I mean, you told us a little bit about it, you touched on it, this glowing up formula that you created for yourself, that there was a time in your life that it really, like, it was like that aha moment that it worked in your favor, like 1,000,000%.
Yes, yes. I think that I probably took a lot longer to develop, confidence and ability to just kind of put myself out there than maybe it did other people. And I was in my 40s, and suddenly I was getting phone calls from other gyms, and they were saying, "We really need you to come and be fitness director, and we're struggling. Our staff doesn't, they're not cohesive. Our members, are rebelling. We're not making money. And we think you have something to offer." And I was like, "Wow, really? You think I have something to offer? Okay." And I realized that everything that I had been doing and everything that I had been learning along the way had been grooming me for that moment where I could get out there and help others achieve what I had been able to achieve. And I always do it with love in my heart, kindness in my heart. But that became the formula, was being able to help people develop their inner self and rise up, get over the obstacles that were holding them back. And usually sometimes they're external environmental obstacles that might prevent us. And we have to identify what those are and figure out how to either hurdle them or remove them or make them pliable to work with us. And then it's the internal obstacles, which is our self-talk, that I needed to help people work through that so that they would be able to move beyond it and achieve what they wanted to achieve.
That's amazing. Yeah, self-talk is really, really important. I think that's something that if we can teach ourselves that, to wake up in the morning and say good morning, even to ourselves nicely, like, hi, good morning in the mirror, like how we would say to the postman or like, to someone out in the street. I think if we learn to treat ourselves with more dignity, I think your formula would just, really be cohesive and expand into this different vortex for your audience. I love it.
Exactly. Yeah, I discovered that people were so hard on themselves, and like you said, they woke up in the mirror, instead of saying, "Hey, you are awesome and you're going to rock it today," while they looked in the mirror. Instead, they were beating themselves up. And so that was the first step, is starting to compliment yourself and respect yourself and lift yourself up and let yourself know you're going to have a great day, and you're gonna just ride over any bump without any issues.
And you said that this happened like in your 40s. Like, I'm almost at the end of my 40s, and I still feel that I need some practices in order to glow up, to, present myself to my children, to present myself to the world, because that inner child in me still is like, oh no, very hard on myself sometimes, right? So if
Right.
you could summarize your book or your formula in just one sentence, what would that be? What would you tell somebody like me who's almost ending their 40s and coming up to their 50s? What would you say in one sentence is what your
In
book
one
is?
sentence, I would probably tell you that you are going to go through a metaphor. Say it. And
Metamorphosis. Oh, I love it.
you're going to go through a journey, and you're going to evolve from perhaps that little worm, or that little caterpillar, into a butterfly. And you're not even going to realize until you suddenly look in the mirror and you see that you have all these beautiful colors around you, and you are lifted and just almost angelic with the wings of your butterfly metaphor. I still can't say it.
Metamorphosis. Love it.
I didn't know that word until now. So,
That's wonderful. I mean, you being in the one of our, master elite authors at the OAO, your energy is just contagious. Like every time I get off the Zoom call with you, I always feel like that butterfly. I always feel that the wisdom that you impart to me, through your messaging is really infiltrating into my mind. And when I look at you, you're really, an icon, and you stand out as a very, you know, hashtag sexy at 60. It's like, if I want to be like her when I grow up, when I glow up. So it's great. I think it's wonderful what you're doing for the community. So glowing up is a brand. And what do you see for yourself in the future as this brand? Because it's not just one entity, which is just your book and the workbook. It's more, I feel, that
Right.
it's expanded. Can you explain to us what the brand means and what does it stand for?
I think I want people to realize that, yes, you're going to read the book and you're going to go through the process with the workbook, but that's just the beginning. That's the start of your path. And most people come to me for, usually for weight loss, to get into shape, or to gain some muscle. That's typically what they're coming to me for. But what I find is that there's a lot of stuff to fix. We got a lot of junk that we've been lugging around behind us, that we've got to clean that out. We've got to fix it. And so it's not just a quick 6 weeks and you're perfect and everything will just, arise from there. It's going to be a process. So I see that, with the website, that will be my way to connect with people, maybe on a larger scale, where I can't be with everybody every minute of the day, but they would be able to go into the website and say, okay, I need a healthy recipe, or I need to work on my core, and they would be able to find a workout video and be able to work out with me one-on-one, virtually or via video or possibly virtually, and start to develop their entire self. Every pillar, which you'll read about in the book, every pillar that you need to address and balance out in order to achieve the results that you would like to have. So I see the website as a way to connect, and so they can connect just via the website and learn with what's there and the new content that will be provided, or they might choose that they would like to connect with me one-on-one, or in a small group and do some work together.
That sounds wonderful, because there is, some sense of like power, community, when more people get together to actually tell you like what it is that they need, so we don't feel alone. So if you ever have a group of like women like me, let me know, who are on the verge of leaving their 40s and thinking, oh, what do I do next? Let me know, because I would love to join that group. So
Oh,
basically,
absolutely. Yeah, I was going to say, I think that you're going to feel, when you turn 50, I don't know when that is, because you look like you're 57,
very soon. Thank you, though.
but you're going to find, you're going to feel very empowered, and you're going to feel like any tethers that have held you down are gone, and you are just going to soar.
I love that. I am looking forward to that, because, I mean, everyone's talking about this midlife crisis thing, and I'm trying to avoid it, because if I am halfway through, I think I've done a pretty okay job halfway through. So I'm waiting for all of that stuff to just like settle, and then I can go on to the next phase of my life. Um,
Yeah.
so it sounds like you have these wonderful coaching opportunities, and you have these different things that people can find on your website, whether they want one-on-one coaching with you, or whether they see videos with you, or recipes, or you mentioned something about having like recipes on the glow if people are busy. Can you give us a real in-depth perspective of what your coaching programs are all about, and for what age group are they really for?
Sure. Well, I tend to probably have the majority of my clients are in their 40s on up, and typically it's female, and typically we're looking for weight loss or working through perimenopause, menopause. I do also have clients that are prenatal, postnatal. So I sometimes work with the younger generation, and I don't want to exclude men, because I have had my share of male clients, and what I see, they're usually brilliant, intelligent guys who have athletic ability. Maybe they were a really good softball player, baseball player, basketball player, but they're not. And I don't want to insult anybody, but they're not a typical jock. They're not feeling comfortable in their own skin either, and they want somebody to make sure they're doing what they're doing correct and not feeling stupid or not feeling intimidated by sometimes that male trainer that's just this big burly guy who looks like Adonis. They know that they're not Adonis, and they don't want to fall into that category, and they want to have really private, personal conversations too. They, just like us, they might be having issues at home, and so my coaching tends to be more not just about fitness, diet, nutrition, and taking care of your health, but it's like what's happening at home, and how do we fix that? Or how do we address that so that it makes, as you leave the house, you feel like you can address the world and your body and everything much better.
So how do people sign on for your coaching program? I mean, like if it was someone like me, I'd want you one-on-one. How do we do that? Do we contact you by email, or do we contact you by your website? Is there some way that we can reach out to you for this kind of coaching?
Yes. I would highly recommend that you reach out to me through the website at glowingup.me. That would be the first one. And then the second way would be my email, which is fitphilly, PHITPHILLY @gmail.com, or even via Facebook Messenger. And you can find me at Phyllis.Hanson, 2, the number 2. And if you send me a message, I would also be, I'm constantly checking or whatever, so I can make sure I answer any questions that people might have. Yes, and I have somebody right now that wants to get together and train with me, but she wants a buddy. So I have people that are like, I really need one-on-one, and then I have other people that want that accountability with a friend or a group. So
that's wonderful.
Yeah.
That's great. I mean, thank you so much for that. And we'll put that also in the post so that people can find you through your website and your email. And I love the way that you have these packages that are custom made, obviously, for your clients. So what do you do? Do you have a discovery call, and then you find out what exactly that person needs, and that they use the Glowing Up formula, or do you spend time with them to create a formula just for themselves?
It often is a discovery call first, but then I like to meet with them one-on-one, and of course, it's in the perfect world we meet in person, but sometimes I have clients all around the world, and so sometimes we have to do it virtually. But then I like to take a look at what's going on with their bodies, because they might have a mindset of, I'm going to run a 10K, and I want you to train me for 10K. But then I look at them and I see that there's a lot of imbalances within their body, and we have to correct that first before we can train for that 10K. So getting a look at them and talking in person, whether it's one-on-one or virtually, is really, really helpful.
That's what I think I love about your brand, Phyllis, is that it's not just out there for people to just click on. You actually have that personal care that you'd like to, analyze the client and also talk to the client about what are their specific needs, which I think is wonderful. I think that's the success of your brand, that human connection, that understanding, which a lot of the time you don't get it, because let's be honest, there's a lot out there on the internet where you can click on something and then you get like a formula, you get a recipe, you get a couple of exercises. But at the end of the day, does that person really know what's going on at home or at work or physically or mentally? So it's really a wonderful, thing that you're doing, because you're taking people back to their roots with the human connection, which is something that is just stellar in your brand. I love that.
Format technique is so important. And so if I get you in a running program, and your posture is just, your alignment just isn't there, I'm going to have you hurt. And that's what happens a lot of times. Somebody signs up for a program online, they never actually get a one-on-one in any way with that person to be able to see, how do we correct this first before you start getting on that treadmill and running. So it's really important. It's really important to me that, we tailor-made or we customize a program for what your goals are and for what your body needs.
Yeah, that's brilliant. And in life, we go through many different ups and downs, just like a heartbeat goes up and down. I mean, if it was flat, we'd all be dead, right? So, what is the main message? I mean, you've been talking about all the messages. The main thing I'm feeling and I'm sensing is that to create like a whole human being where you feel like that butterfly and you come out of like the darkness or like a phoenix. Is there one specific message inside your book or inside your workbook that you would like your audience to remember for always, for the rest of time?
Yes. I would say that it is, we are always growing. We are always developing and changing, and we have to be prepared for those changes. And I feel like the book helps walk you through, whether that change is an obstacle or it's a welcome change, because, we're thinking about age or we're thinking about perimenopause or menopause. You have to have the tools to be able to navigate through rough waters, tough times. And that would be the message, is that I think that my book and the stories within and the stories of my clients will show you that it can be done, that you can do it with guidance and an open mind. You're able to pretty much conquer and achieve any goal that you want to have.
And that's something coming from you. I mean, you are a wisdom carrier. You have the legacy. You've been through it. I mean, you look 40, and how did you do it? I mean, you have that persona where it's very much we're very much able to, get into your world because you've been through it. I'm wondering if you were 20 years old trying to tell a 60-year-old about menopause, if that would make any difference. I mean, I'm not sure if I would listen as an almost 50-year-old, but that's to each their own. But I think your legacy and where you've come and you as an example really teaches your audience that your formula of glowing up really works. And before we go, I mean, what is the best thing about being an author for you?
The best thing, because it was a dream, a goal. I really feel accomplished, like I've done something really important and I've left my mark that will live on, through the words in the book, for my children and my grandchildren to be able to say, hey, that's my mom, or that's my grandma, and so it's a big accomplishment. I really, like, some people idolize musicians and movie stars, and I do, but I really idolize authors, and so I'm like,
I love it. Oh, that's amazing. That's amazing.
And I can't wait to start to write the next book, which might not have anything to do with health and wellness and fitness, but I feel like there's so many stories in my head, that I feel that inspiration, and I would love to put it on paper and see where I could go with it.
You're amazing, Phyllis. And before we leave from this interview, please remind your audience again where they can find you on your website and your email as well.
Okay, yes. So my website is www.glowingup.me, and my email is fitphilly, PHITPHILLY @gmail.com. Thanks to a friend, when I was first setting up email, he thought that was the perfect handle for me. And then you can also find me on Facebook, which is Phyllis.Hanson with an O and the number 2.
Thank you so much, Phyllis. Thank you so much for your time. And we're so honored to be on this journey with you. And this is from everyone at the OAO. Thank you for joining us today.